Welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. This week we have for you a very experienced practitioner. He's an OG. I don't know why we've actually taken this long to get him on the show because this guy's been around for a while. Many of you will know the name. Those that are watching might know the face as well. He's the head coach of Leverage Jiu-Jitsu. He's a third degree black belt and he is Phil Grapsas. Thanks for joining us, Phil.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, Phil. Tell us a little bit about the gym just to start with. Give us a rundown and when it started and your location, all those sorts of things, so people know.
No problem. Leverage Jiu-Jitsu Academy is the name of the school. We're a Pedro Sauer affiliate school, so Professor or Master Pedro Sauer, 8th degree black belt Pedro Sauer. We opened in 2011. We first opened in Greensboro, right near, if anyone knows Greensboro, right near the Watermark Centre. Our signs are still stuck up on the building because we put so much glue on that they're not coming down. We opened about 13, almost 14 years ago. We're now located at 36 Mercedes Drive in Thomastown in a large warehouse. You can probably hear a little bit of an echo while I'm speaking because I'm in here now. We've got we have exactly 200 square meters of mat. We've got about 250 practitioners doing jiu-jitsu here. Yeah, and we pretty much run jiu-jitsu. We've just put on a judo program with a 7th degree coral belt in judo. He's just moved here. He's an Iranian guy. His name's Sajjad Kazemi, so he's running judo here from now on as well. And that's it. We're a proud affiliate member of the Pedro Sauer Association. And like I mentioned, I've been running a school for 13 years, and I've been fortunate enough in that time to grade 11 people to black belt, and I've got about 7 affiliate schools, like students that have gone on and opened schools from here, which is amazing. Wow. It's an amazing.
Yeah, that's very cool. Did you have Craig Donaldson working with you back then in Greensboro?
No, he never worked with me. Craig was not far from where I was. He was training with a guy named Mark Cook in the Greensboro MMA place, Mark Cookie's place. He first opened there. Craig's with John Will. He's under the John Will Association. I've known Craig for a long time.
I thought maybe because I knew that he was in Greensboro for a little while because I trained with Craig in Eltham at Integrities. But I knew that he was in Greensboro, so I thought maybe you guys might have been together back then.
No, we were not
mate,
together.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing having a few black belts under you that you've put through. That's cool. Fantastic.
It's very cool. It's very cool. It's very cool that people sort of wanted to do it, like after watching it and training in it for such a long time, that they decided they want to open academies. I don't know if they made the best decisions. It's a hard job. It's a lot harder than it looks like it is, like especially when you first open. But I'm really fortunate. I'm blessed that we got this far into it. I'm really fortunate at the time that I started. When I started jiu-jitsu, there wasn't not a lot of people doing it. Like, the first Vic Champs that I went to there was two mats on one basketball court, and there was a basketball match happening on the court behind us. Like, it was still a really small deal, like there was not many people competing. There was not many people doing it. And then now it's exploded into this huge thing. And I was really fortunate that I got in it and stuck to it. And then I'm even doubly blessed in that I met Murat Karadenizli. Murat's another guy you should get on your show. Murat's my old instructor, and he introduced me to Pedro Sauer, which he changed my life. Meeting Pedro Sauer changed my life. I was a banker before I became I was doing grappling, but I was training in grappling, and meeting Pedro Sauer made me want to open an academy and do this thing full time. So it changed my life. Yeah.
Tell us, Phil, how you started jiu-jitsu in general.
I started bouncing when I was 18 years old, and the only experience I had in sort of combat was boxing, and I was, stupid, naively taking on a job bouncing at 18. I thought I was a big kid, and I thought I'd be all right, and I was all right most of the time. And then the times I found that were the hardest to deal with was when people were confrontational but not physical, and I had to remove them anyway. And I didn't know how to grab them. I didn't know how to move them. And then I started looking for martial arts that would help me. Because boxing, when people are just saying, no, I'm not leaving, you can't just start punching them in the head. It's terrible. It's a terrible thing to do, So I started looking for martial arts that would work and that would help me. And I did Aikido for a little while, and that was really cool. I trained with a guy named Joe Tambu in Thornbury, and I did that for a while. That was really, really cool. And then while I was doing that, there was a couple of guys that were training Aikido that had some jiu-jitsu experience. My brother had some jiu-jitsu experience, and I got a feel for it, and I loved it. And then decided to take a class, and then I got my ass kicked. I actually got choked out my first class, got choked unconscious by Rob Williams. Rob, you're going to probably see this. He choked me out of my first class, and then from there I got hooked, and I stayed stuck with it, and never stopped doing it. I always loved it as a sport, and it eventually became my life. Yeah.
What year was that, Phil, that you started? Do you remember?
I remember exactly. I got choked out just before Christmas in '98, and that was it was just before Christmas. It was like late November. So I didn't join the academy then because like they were going to close in a few weeks. They were about to close. And I said, I'll be back next year. And I was only young. I was 18 years old. So I didn't join immediately in the new year. I was enjoying my summer for a while. And I joined on my birthday. I joined on my 19th birthday. It was my first official class. Bought a gi, signed up on February the 22nd, 99. Was my first class. Yeah. My first official joining. Yeah. But I got choked out in 98. And then, and then joined up in '99, and never stopped, never really stopped. Had a couple of breaks through injury, some extended breaks through injury, but never quit really since. Yeah, so it's been cool. It's been a long journey, but it's been worth it. I've loved it. I loved every step. Wouldn't change it. Wouldn't change the time.
You received your black belt in 2013 in Brazil. Is that right? Can you tell us about that?
That was a fun experience. It was my first trip to Brazil. I'd never been to Brazil before. I was actually due to grade in December 2012, but just timing and Professor not being around, like Pedro Sauer not being around, I was going to get the belt from Murat, and Murat suggested I hang on for 6 more months and go out to Brazil and get it directly from Pedro Sauer, and that's what I did. So, decided to fly out in 2013. Dave Christick was on that trip as well. And he joined our association on that trip. He's since sort of wandered off, but he was with us for a long time, and he helped me tremendously in terms of preparing for my black belt demonstration. So I've always going to owe him a lot of credit for that, because he taught me a lot about because there's a massive self-defense curriculum in our association, and Dave has a huge knowledge and background in that stuff, so he taught me a lot about it. And did my test, blew my knee out 2 days before my test on the camp, because it's a training camp, and I was training with this monster Brazilian guy, and he blew my knee. I had him locked in a triangle, and he just sat up, and my knee exploded. And had to do the black belt exam on like a half a box of painkillers, but it worked. It worked. So the test got done, and then I was on crutches for the rest of the camp. But
So tell us about that.
So it was
fun. So tell us about that day, Phil. So it's an actual test, right, for what you do through Pedro Sauer. So what does the actual day look like?
It's more a demonstration. It's more a demonstration than a black belt exam. We, in our association, in the Pedro Sauer Association, every belt test, every belt level has a demonstration portion and then a fight portion, except for the black belt. The black belt is just a demonstration, and then you've fought at blue, purple, brown. You've fought at every other belt. Yeah, you've been fighting, and then it's about a 30-minute self-defense demonstration. There's about 80 moves that you do from all sorts of grips, grabs, pulls, and pushes, and punches, and kicks, and all sorts of situations. So you demonstrate the moves, demonstrate a working knowledge of the moves, and then you're awarded your belt. And it's normally after a long haul of training. That black belt doesn't come easy in any association.
No.
But every single belt that we award, so even our blue belts, they demonstrate about 36 or 38 techniques, and then they get Shark Tank for about 40 minutes straight. And then purple belts the same. They demonstrate about 60 techniques, and then they get Shark Tank for about 35, 40 minutes straight. And then brown belt's the same. And then at black belt, it's just a longer demonstration. And then the white belts don't get to beat up on the tired black belts. That's sort of the way it goes. You get your belt. And it's largely because a lot of the time, people tend to be a little bit older when they get in their black belts. They're not babies anymore. Like I was young when I started, and I still got my black belt in my mid-30s. And I'm
Right.
giving black belt. I'm going to give a black belt away in probably 2 years' time to a woman that's going to be 70 years old, and I don't want to shark.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't want to shark tank a
That's
70-year-old
amazing.
because it is amazing. She's amazing. She's one of my. She's an
Wow.
absolute inspirational member. She started when she was 59, and she was just a
Yep.
normal 59-year-old woman when she started, and she's
Yeah.
67 now. She hates me telling people how old she is, but Christine Stapleton,
Mate,
yeah,
she's
she's
probably
amazing. She's amazing.
proud of it. Yeah,
She's
she's probably
amazing.
proud of it.
Everyone in the gym is super
Yeah.
proud of her. She's a beast as well. She's an amazing purple belt, and she's almost 70 years old. So she's really, really good grappler. Yeah, we've got a really, really good environment that's helped her to sort of stay in the
Yeah.
gym and stay on the mat and come up and learn all the moves. And now she's no joke. Young ladies come in and train with her, and they can't believe what they're feeling. First of all, we don't tell anyone how
Yeah.
old she is. You see people
Yeah.
freaking out. It's cool. It's very cool. Yeah.
Do
On that,
you,
Phil,
on your black belt, do you
Sorry.
go out after it and do you have dinner? Like, is there sort of a celebration after it? Because I know that happens sometimes, but
Absolutely. Well, I was in Brazil, and the day I got my black belt, Dave Christic was awarded his third degree on the same day. So
right.
there was we went
Yeah.
out that night, but there was still we still had 2 days of a training camp after. So we didn't
Yeah.
really go out drinking or anything. And I was on crutches. I couldn't really
Yeah.
do much,
Yeah.
but we did. We all went out
Yeah.
for a big dinner. Because on that training camp, there's probably about 26, 27 people on that camp, plus all the local Brazilian guys that turned up. But yeah, we went out for a big
Yeah.
dinner, like about 30 guys, 35 guys. We all went out and had a big dinner, celebrated. It was a culmination of 13 years of training. And the last probably 8 years of that was full time, like twice a day, while I was working,
Right.
early morning sessions,
Yeah.
and then after work, trying to just build my hours on the mat and get as much experience as possible to open the school. And then when it happened, it was surreal. You get that weird feeling for a long time when you first tie your black belt on, like you're looking down, you can't actually believe it's black. You feel like you got a little bit of imposter syndrome happening. And then you grow into it. And I've been wearing a black belt now for 12 years. It's longer than any other belt. I was a white belt back when I started. There was no quick progression through rank because I think when I started, John Will was still wearing a purple, and he got his brown shortly after. And then I remember him getting his black. But we were all stuck in rank until John got bumped up. We were waiting for our instructors to get bumped up so they could bump us up. It was a waiting game. So even though we were training all the time, I was a white belt for 5 years. Then I was a blue belt for 4 years, and then the later belts came a little faster. But I was training. I was doing like close to 800 hours a year, and they came after 2 years. The last two belts, yeah. But it was a different time. I don't regret anything. I think all of us that were early adopters that didn't quit, most of us that didn't quit, because I can pretty much remember everyone. I even remember Lachlan Giles when he was really young, really, really young. When he was, at Dave's mat, and when he first started coaching at Hangar 4, when he was still in Preston, or when he moved from Essendon to Preston. And, it's cool that we're all still around. And most of us run schools now. Most of us, the ones that stuck to it. There's a lot of guys that were more talented than me and more talented than most of the guys running schools, but they quit. It's just a testament to not quitting. So, yeah.
That's what they say, isn't it? Like a
That's
black
all it
belt's
is.
just a white belt that didn't quit. So,
I say that all the time. I said they're just serious beginners. They're just really serious beginners, because that's all you are. There's no bottom to jiu-jitsu. I've been doing this for more than half my life. If you're going to keep seeking to win or fight, you're going to get sick of this stuff after about 10 years. I was approaching my black belt. I was done. I was ready to throw it away. I was like, what the hell am I doing? Keep fighting. I'm always sore, strapping my fingers just to go to class. It's ridiculous. But if you're going to keep training into your 40s, into your 50s, I mean, it sounds weird and it sounds a bit woo-woo, and I don't talk about this with beginners, but there's a philosophy to jiu-jitsu, which is jiu-jitsu doesn't mean fighting. It's a Japanese word that means sort of finding the path of least resistance. And when you apply that philosophy to every single session when you train, and then you apply that to your life, things sort of come a little easier. And I've applied the jiu-jitsu philosophy to my life for a long time, and it's working beautifully, So that's what I'm training for
on
now.
that, Phil,
Yeah.
sort of linking back to what you were saying about your older student, what
Yeah.
sort of advice would you give for people that are a bit older, that are grappling? Maybe they only started in their 40s or 50s, so
Yeah.
they don't have, quite the experience that you do.
Yeah,
Because I know that as you go up the ranks, you become much more efficient. So obviously you're
100%.
not using as
Yeah.
much energy in general. But what do you think about that for older grapplers especially?
The biggest thing I say to anybody that's over, not even 40, if you're over 30 and you're starting jiu-jitsu, most people over 30 are either in a family or thinking about starting a family, or they might have already started a young family. They cannot afford to get hurt. You can't get hurt. If you're starting jiu-jitsu at 32, God bless you. I'm not telling you not to train hard, but your chances of being Gordon Ryan are shot. They're not going to happen. You're not going to be a world champion. You might be a Masters world champion, but even to get to there, if you're starting at 32, you really need to train intelligently for your first couple of years. That means come to class with a big smile and half your effort stays in the car. That means you do never fight with 100% of your effort. Never, ever give 100% of your energy. If you get caught in an armbar and it's locked on and you fight to get out, even when you get out, you took damage. You took damage. If it gets locked on and then you pull it, you still took damage. All that damage is cumulative. Now, I can prove that I got I got shit all over my body because I started this young and I fought all the way through all that stuff, and I'm paying for everything now. I wake up with injuries without getting hurt. Just shit's just flared up just from an injury that might have happened 10 years ago. And that's life now. So the advice I give to anyone older is, especially if they're a little bit fitter, is you're your own worst enemy. If you come in here and you try to beat people, you're going to lose and it's going to hurt. But if you come in here expecting to lose, just like a video game, if you play a new video game you never played before, nobody expects to get through that video game without losing a life. You're expecting to lose a life. So when you lose a life, you just saw the problem. You can now work your way around the problem. Jiu-jitsu is exactly the same way. So when you first get caught in a submission, all your instincts are to freak out and try to just stop, tap, lose. And now you're going to build awareness that even if you lose to the same move, you're still going to lose, whether you resist it or not. How long you guys been training? A long time? So
Yeah,
how many
I'm
times you've
15
been caught
years
in
now.
how many times you've been caught in an armbar?
Oh, I
1
can't.
million or too
Lost
many to
count.
count? How many times have we been caught in a
Mate,
triangle? Too many to count. So wouldn't it have been smarter
Phil, you
now?
can't tell Kim to tap, mate. You can't tell her to tap the arm
Yeah,
bars.
but I
She's
know, but the thing
every
is,
other things you can, but arm bars, Kim's just like they don't work.
Yeah, that's why I've broken my elbow.
yeah, I know, but the truth is, one day you're still young. One day you're gonna pay for every single one of those. Like you're
I'm
gonna
paying
regret it.
now.
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm
feel you.
saying.
I'm paying.
So
Yeah.
you got to
Yeah,
use your experience, your busted elbow, and you got to show your white belts that come in, even the 20-year-old ones.
Yeah.
Hey, tap, man, tap. Even when you're
Yes.
caught a little bit, it's practice. You can't win practice. Don't tell me anybody in your gym holds a scorecard. I tapped Kim tonight, and then I tapped Brent, and then Brent
Yeah.
caught me. Nobody keeps a
yeah,
score. Man, when you
yeah,
get caught, tap. When you get caught, tap. I got two young guys that used to play AFL football training here. These things are bulls, but everybody's catching them in guillotines and they're coming out holding their necks. And I said, hey, boys, when your neck gets caught, if you tap, it won't hurt. If you just tap, it won't
yeah,
hurt. Yeah, but I can get, yeah, I know you can. You don't know how to get out properly, get one. You're just ripping your head out and you're going to
yeah,
get hurt and you're going to end up with messed up, ugly ears doing that
Yeah.
too. But if you chill out and just accept that your head got caught, tap. Every time you tap, it hurts a little bit. Just a little bit, it hurts your pride. But if you leave it in the car, don't bring your pride to the gym. Leave it outside.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt at all. And eventually, you're going to stop tapping. You're going to stop getting your head caught. You'll stop. Don't resist like an idiot in class. This is practice, man. Practice shouldn't hurt. If practice hurts,
mm,
you're going to stop practicing. You're going to quit, or you're not going to come when you're a little sore, or you're a little tired, or you're a little down. This is all wrong. If you want to get good at jiu-jitsu, you should have an environment that makes you want to come to the environment, regardless of how you feel. You should be drawn in for learning's purposes. And if you come in feeling shitty that day, you're going to leave feeling better. The endorphins of training are going to kick in. But if you come in here and it's got to fight, you got to fight every night. I've been doing this for 25 years. When I met Pedro Sauer, I was 8.5, 9 years into jiu-jitsu. I was looking at the black belt like the finish line. I was going to get my black belt, hang my certificates on the wall, hang my belt above it, and tell everybody I used to do jiu-jitsu and look at the medals and look how well I did. But I was ready. I was done because I couldn't keep fighting. I couldn't do it anymore. It was exhausting. It was horrible. So the day I decided that when I met Pedro Sauer and I saw the other side of jiu-jitsu, I saw self-defense first. And self-defense is self-preservation in every single class. I don't let anybody stack me. You will pass my legs for sure if you get under my legs. You start stacking a little bit, I'm kicking you off. I'm going to kick part. Now I can freak out that you're inside mount, but you're not keeping score, and neither am I.
Yeah.
And guess what? I can now work my side mount defense. I can prevent you mounting me. I can try to escape when you try to choke me. I can stop you choke. I'm not going to freak out because you part. This is my chance to defend. Side mount. If I don't let anybody through ever in practice, the first guy that gets through is going to kill me there. So I say this to all my more experienced guys, because when you're a black belt on the mat and you train in 90% of the classes, most people won't pass your legs if you don't want them to. You're going to keep everybody in the guard. You're going to sweep them and submit them if you want that to happen. And then you might have one or two partners in the class that'll give you a run. But if you're the higher ranks on the mat, most of the time you're going to be running over people if that's what you want to do. But then how do you improve from the negative spots when the only time they get there is the guys that can really get there? They're going to smash you every time.
Yeah.
So you better put guys that can't get there so you can practice from there. And I say this to all the more experienced guys: experience every position, every class. You should be trying to feel every position, every class. So let somebody on your back, let somebody on the side, let them mount, let them go everywhere and try to work free. And this is how you're going to build efficiency when you train with the lower ranks, and you can do it absolutely effortlessly. Because then when you get to the guys your level or better, you've built efficiency in the movement. You know when to move, and because you're not freaking out. This is how you're going to get good at jiu-jitsu, and this is how you're going to stay on the mat a long time. Anyway, this is the philosophy we preach in jiu-jitsu, in the classes here. And that's why I can get a 58-year-old woman to train for 11 years and still be on the mat, you know. And I had a 70-year-old guy
I really
on the
like
mat
it.
too for a long time. Yeah, that's the way. That's the only way, you know. And I'm not claiming this to be my philosophy. It's just taught to me by Pedro Sal. You know, Pedro Sal, I've been part of the Pedro Sal Association for 14 years now, 15 years. And I've been really fortunate in that time that every year that he's come to Australia, he's been out here 11 times. With the exception of the COVID years, he came out pretty much every year since 2008. He's been here. And I was lucky enough to follow him around. So I've done something like 120 seminars with Professor Sal on the mat, 120 3-hour seminars all around the country. And I've been privy to, you know, the knowledge coming through and the philosophy coming through of a guy that's got 50 years experience on the mat. So I was really, really lucky, really, really fortunate in that I was able to access that, and then I'm able to offer that sort of information back out to the guys here, guys and girls here. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think for me, one of the things that I really enjoyed what you were talking about, Phil, is the not fighting out of submissions. I think there comes a time, and you would do this, I'm sure, and any jiu-jitsu class would, where there is a time where we're actually going to be learning escapes, you know, like you're
100%.
talking about escaping side mount. Well, if you don't really know what you're doing,
Yeah.
and you're trying to escape from an armbar or something like that, you will cause yourself damage, as opposed to, okay, you've
100%.
caught me here 3 times, and then sitting there and saying, hey, like, you've caught me there 3 times, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And instead of, you know, as you're saying, your AFL boys just ripping their heads out or whatever,
Yeah.
like the learning happens, I think, not through the pain of the guillotine, but through tapping. And whether you're deep in the position and you get tapped, or whether you're actually just in the position and you tap, as you
Yeah.
say, like that little bit of pain of your ego. So I think that's a really nice it's a really nice way to put that, Phil.
It's absolutely the right way. We had unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. There was a guy in our association. His name was Keith Owen. And he had a thing that he'd say was that if I told you as a white belt that you need to tap 1,000,000 times before you get your black belt, start getting them out of the way. Just start knocking them off.
Yeah, start early. Yeah.
Because just start tapping. What are you waiting for? You're going to tap anyway. Now, either it's going to hurt and then you tap, or when you're caught,
Yeah.
just stop and ask. Every single person, if you train with like half your energy when they tap you, if you say, hey, that was cool, show me what you did, everyone will show you. If you
Yeah.
freak out and you don't go to the you fight to the bitter end, and this guy has a really hard time, and you say, hey, man, what did you do? He might show you, but he might not show you everything, because, you know, you didn't fight with you weren't training with him. You were fighting this guy. And every single one of us that's on the mat, every single one of us, even though we're part of a team, this is an individual pursuit. You didn't come in with anybody else, and you're not going home with anybody else. I mean, you might be coming with a friend, whatever, but you're taking this is 100% an individual sport. No one can, you can't, there's no teammates when you're in a train. This is 100% for you. We're all doing this from our own perspective. You need good people in your environment to do it with. So if you don't trust your training partners to not pull with 110% effort on your arm, how the hell can you trust him to show him what you're doing? He's going to use it
And I
against
think
you. He's
that's
going to turn it
also,
against you. He's going to turn it against you violently. And then, you've just created a monster. You know what I mean? And this is
yeah,
what
I think
happens in
that's
a
a
lot of
good
the
point,
schools.
right? I
Super
think that's a
good
good
point.
point, Phil. It's if I use everything I can and then I actually escape the armbar and then the roll continues and then you mount me and then I get out of that and the roll continues,
Mm-hmm.
you've kind of lost that opportunity to when you're in the armbar and then you tap, you lose that opportunity to revisit that moment, right? Where
100%.
okay, I've ripped my arm out, I'm good to go, like let's continue, as opposed to, oh, why did I get caught there or why did I get stuck there,
Boom. Because every time I say to someone, I see somebody do it, because it still happens, even though I talk. People still fight. They can't help themselves. Well, you got to sort of keep re-emphasizing the point. Every time I see them rip their arm out, I'm saying, hey, you got out. That's pretty good. But if I put one more belt rank on that guy, would you have got out? Oh, maybe not. So find out why you got caught instead of just ripping out and keep going. Because if I ask you at the end of the night, did anything go wrong? You're going to say, no, it was all sweet. But you got caught in an armbar by a white belt and you're a blue belt. Even though you got out, he put you there. Would the blue belt have finished it? Yes. Well, you have a problem. You could have taken that moment there to tap to the white belt. He would have got excited, would have hurt you, only if you brought your pride to the class. But if you didn't bring your pride, because you know you can rip your arm out. You know you can. You just proved it. So leave it there, tap, and fix it so it doesn't happen again. Because the higher
It's
rank is
that
going to get up.
classic thing of
Man, I wish
it's that
I
classic
wish
thing
I
where we
had
sit
someone
there and
telling me this
say,
when I was a white belt too, because I've hurt myself so many times,
yeah,
But
it's that
yeah,
classic thing of like, hey coach, keep getting caught in triangles, can you show me how to escape them? It's like, why are you getting caught in triangles,
that's exactly. But this is
I
exactly
I
right.
have this when I'm rolling. I have this when I'm rolling with Kim, and she keeps going to the steep halves, and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
So what you got to do is slow down and let her do it. Slow
Yeah,
down
yeah,
and let her do it, and watch exactly what she's doing, how she starts it, where she does second, what she does third, and then work out where you can intercept it. Don't stop it. Don't try to stop. That's playing anti-jiu-jitsu. You don't want to play anti-jiu-jitsu. Anti-jiu-jitsu is ugly. It's disgusting. You want to play jiu-jitsu is you come like this, I catch you and go with you and turn it somewhere else. So when she's doing this move that she keeps doing to you, man, it's going to happen whether you've been fighting it for how long, it's still happening. Well, why don't you just stop and let her fucking do it once a couple of times and watch it happen and see
yeah.
what happens.
I
Oh,
can't stop it.
wait. She put her hand there. Oh, wait. She starts it somehow. She goes from somewhere to somewhere. You might not be able to stop it, but I bet you can intercept it. You can 100%. I don't even have to see the move. I know you can be intercepted. Is anyone intercepting it, Kim?
Always, yes.
See, you can be
Yes.
intercepted. You got to slow down and watch it. You got to see it through every step. Let it happen, man. Just smile and tap, whatever. Don't worry about it. Just doing it
That's
anyway.
usually the
Wake
way it
up.
goes.
Let's
That's
just do
usually
it.
the way it
Yeah.
goes.
But pay attention from the start. Start paying attention. See, what if I block that hand? What she do now? She rips it out like this. When she rips it
Yeah,
out, can I change something? Can I do something? And all of a sudden, I bet you find something. You start finding
that's
solutions.
it.
I tell my
100%.
guys every Saturday morning here, we do like 1 hour stand up, like 40 minutes of stand up technique repetitions, and then 20 minutes of like randori, so they live takedowns. And then we
Yep.
do 40 minutes of competition jiu-jitsu class. 40 minutes, once a week, mouth guards on. Every other class is laboratory. That means I don't want to see you fighting. Chill out and roll. Just roll and experiment. Move. You even got lab coats on. Everyone's wearing white lab coats. Most of the people, you look like lab tech. Just work in the lab. Work it out. Once a week, put the mouth guards on and go for it. Even football players only play one game a week. Even rugby, they only play one game a week. The rest of the time, they're mucking around, working out how to get their skills better. And this is exactly, if you want to do it for a longevity perspective, this is the only way you can approach it. If you go to war 4 times a week, you're going to break. Everybody breaks. 8, 9, 10 years in. 10 years seems to be the limit for the spine before your disc goes, how's it going out the side? And that's like just about everybody's been doing jiu-jitsu 20 years in Australia. If you take their MRIs, and every one of us has got MRIs on the spine, there's a fucking couple of discs down that way or that way. There's something wrong. right? And that doesn't have to be the case. The black belts I've made since I've been running a school, nobody's got a broken spine. Nobody, because they train like this.
Mm.
If you train stupid, like the way we used to train, you're gonna everybody has got a broken spine. Hickson Gracie is like crooked, he's completely crooked, and he knew all this stuff. But he fought with a lot
Mm.
of ego while he was young, defending the family honor and defending all this stuff. So he was fighting monsters, and he wouldn't let them pass. He was fighting all the time. And this is what happens if you fight. Your body breaks. Even when you win, your body breaks.
Yeah,
Even when you
for
win.
sure.
So when you practice, just practice. If you practice, you're going to get so much better. Yeah, and you're going to last long. And it's more fun because you don't have to win. You just come to class and train and go home.
Yeah, yeah.
Train on
No,
Saturday. Put your mouth guard on and try to kick everyone's ass. And then the next week, just muck around again. Even Gary Tonin says the same thing. He taps every class. He taps every time he trains. Because if you're not tapping, you're not trying. You're not trying new stuff. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be worried about tapping to your teammates, the guys you train with, the girls you train with. That's silly. I tap in class. If somebody catches me, it took me a long time to adjust my brain. Yeah. Because I used to fight like hell. I had to wait till something clicked or popped or stop. Now, if you catch me, if I couldn't pull it out when I was aware of it, you start stretching, stop. That's enough. It's enough.
Yeah. You still there, Phil?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Can
Have
you
you
see
got
the
me?
pedals? No. Oh, there you are. There you are.
Sorry,
Are you?
something came up here.
I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
Is your background? Are you Greek?
Yeah.
Is that your background?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I try and do a bit of homework. I asked you mentioned Dave Kritzik. I asked him if he has any dirt on you, and he just basically said to me, he's the only guy you know that can call someone a malacca and successfully make it motivational. So
That's
what do
funny.
you
That's
say to
quite
that?
funny. What do I say to that? Well, malaka, if you know any Greek people, malaka, the word
Yeah,
malaka is all about inflection. It's about how you say it. So I can call you a malaka and mean it quite meanly, or I can say it and it's sort of a little bit how Aussies, I don't even want to say the word, how Aussies use the word, see you next
yeah,
Tuesday. It's sort of the
yeah, yeah.
context it's used in. Yeah. So it's all about the context. If you use it nicely, it's nice. It can be complimentary. It can be a nice thing. Yeah, but that's it. It's funny.
Yeah.
No, I am.
Well,
I'm
that's the
Greek.
only dirt I could
Yeah.
get. Like I said, couldn't get
Nah,
any
there's no
from
dirt.
anyone else either.
What dirt? Thank you. Thank God Dave didn't give you any dirt on me. He might have a few more juicier things he could have said, but no.
He did say he was the guy that you were beating up for your demonstration test for your black belt.
He was the guy. He gave me his body to beat up. If you've seen Dave, I don't know if you've ever met him.
Yeah, I know Dave
He's
well.
no
Yeah.
pushover. He ain't easy to beat up. So no, he's no. I
Well, there's
was
a
not
lot
beating
of
him
him.
up.
He's
He's
a
a
big
huge
guy.
man, and he's actually lost a lot of weight. He was huge when I was throwing him around. He was about 125 kilos. He
Yeah.
was a very big man back then. Yeah,
Yeah. Yes, he was.
yeah.
What about with your current student base? Do you have guys and girls that go out and compete? Do you have
We do
hobbyists? Have you got like a broad range? Like,
mostly
tell us about
hobbyists.
that.
It's mostly
Yep,
hobbyists.
yep,
Even the kids that we have are mostly hobbyists. But we do have
yep,
guys that compete. We do have probably got about 140 adults that train here and just over 100
yep,
kids. And out of that 140 adults, there's probably about 15, 16 guys that are avid competitors. They compete a lot.
yep,
And
yep,
then there's two guys that fight MMA.
yep.
And from the kids, there's about 10 kids that compete, but none of them compete like
Awesome.
all the time. But they
Yeah,
compete. Yeah, they compete probably 3 or 4 times a year. Yeah. Especially with kids, I've seen a lot of kids start jiu-jitsu and burn out when they're young, and they get exceptionally good too. You see these kids, they're training 5 times a week, 6 times a week, and by the time they're 14, they're amazing. They're black belt level and beyond. 15, 16, they're done. They don't want to train anymore. And it's because it's so hard, especially competing. Competing is tough. It's mentally hard. It's hard to prepare. And jiu-jitsu is not like other sports where you have a season where you play for 5 months, 6 months, and you get a break. So starting kids young, and I recommend this to all the parents, is let them play other sports too. Keep them
yeah,
involved in jiu-jitsu, but give them a break from it every year. Make sure they have a month off, 2 months off. Make sure that if they don't want to compete, we do an internal competition once a year for like all the affiliate schools. They all turn up, and we have like an internal intra-club comp, and the kids all sort of compete in that and do really well. But otherwise, I've seen a lot of kids burn out. Even my kids, I didn't push them into jiu-jitsu when they were young. I made them train a little bit. They've been mucking around with me at home since they were babies. But now that they're teenagers, they're super keen on getting involved, and that's really where I wanted them to be at teenage level. Wanted them really wanting to be involved. And John Will did the same thing with his kid Felix. Like, he didn't let him on the mat till he was like 14, I think. He would not until Felix was begging to come to jiu-jitsu. And then he came on and got his black belt in like 8 years, and now he's an amazing practitioner and competitor and everything. So it's just, I've seen a lot of kids start young, and their parents, and it's typically parents that don't train or don't train a lot or have never trained a lot, and they've never really fought, that push their kids to compete a lot and train all the time. And they don't really know how hard this is as a sport to do full time for 10 years plus, because you burn out. 10 years is like, seems to be the limit. It doesn't matter what age you start. Like, it's really hard to fight for more than 10 years. You're done. Yeah. So I don't recommend kids do, like, I recommend they all compete a little bit, but I don't recommend they go like chasing the circuit like some kids you see that are competing almost every month. I think that's a little crazy for kids to do, because you guys competed.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
guys, it's intense. It's not easy to do, even when you're little. I mean, when you see 5-year-olds competing, I think that's cute as shit, because they don't really know what they're doing half the time. They sort of run out and they hug each other and they fall down. Now, and it's cool, don't get me wrong. I really like watching the 8 and the 9 and the 10-year-olds competing too. But then you see the ones that don't stop and that's all they do, and they're trained fighters, and you see these kids with this mindset coming out to kill, and it's cool, but it's also, man, that's a difficult mindset to maintain. It's a very hard mindset to keep, because it's hard. It's just really hard to be that way. It doesn't gel with the rest of society being that way. So I don't recommend pushing little kids to competition full on. Jiu-jitsu should be used as a balancing tool, especially if you're going to do it for life. And the best way to do this is to do it for life. There's so much that this can contribute to your life after fighting. Fighting career, even if you're a really good athlete in jiu-jitsu, and say you started as a child and you don't burn out and you get to your black belt at, say, 20, and you compete as a 20-year-old black belt till you're 30, well, that's only 10 years of competition. Took you 15 years to prepare for 10 years of competition. And now what? You're going to stop? When there's so much more that you can offer back to the community in terms of educating others, as well as keeping your body fit, mobile, maintaining the jiu-jitsu lifestyle, which is not fighting. Jiu-jitsu lifestyle is not fighting. It's going with the flow. That's what jiu-jitsu is. And, I love it. It's cool.
You've been around for what, close to 30 years in the jiu-jitsu scene in Australia.
26,
like, what would you say are the biggest changes that you've seen in that time?
Just the uptake, the amount of people that are coming into it, like this huge uptake of people coming into it. And more recently, I've started to see there's been a lot of people more recently are starting to take shots at like traditional parts of how people run schools or how things have been done in the past, and they're taking shots at it. So that's the thing that I'm not too appreciative of, because I've trained on both sides of the like jiu-jitsu. I've trained it just as a sport, and I've trained the martial arts side too. And I think the martial art has a huge, the martial art contains the sport. The sport is inside it. If you train the whole gambit of jiu-jitsu, the sport is inside. BJJ is in there. But if you just train for the sport, you're sort of going to miss a lot of the philosophy that I'm talking about, all that other stuff that I'm talking about. That's not in the sport. It's not required for the sport. Self-defense is not required for the sport. Nobody's going to punch you in a competition. Nobody's going to try. Nobody's going to pull a knife. It's a totally different situation. So your mindset's different when in terms of preparation. And then that community started to take shots a little bit. It started a lot with Gordon Ryan talking shit on the gi, and then it's kept going. And the truth of the fact is, and if you remove just Gordon Ryan, take that one person out of the equation, for all of history, the best guys at ADCC are the best guys in the gi. Until today as well, except for Gordon Ryan. Like, you just remove that guy. And I'm pretty sure if he put a jacket on and tried for a few years, he'd probably win his divisions in the gi as well. Because he's exceptional. He's amazing. He's the best practitioner on the planet at the moment. But to be talking shit about the gi when none of your teammates can beat the gi guys, what are you on about? Like, what are you talking about? The gi forever has made the best practitioners. Tell me, apart from Gordon Ryan, who the best no gi guys are. And I'll tell you the gi guys that beat them. Tell me, like, who are they?
It's interesting. Yeah, we laugh about this at training, and I'm sure you guys do as well.
Man,
Um,
the gi
this
is
thing where
harder.
people like where everyone's like the gear is dead, and then like
No,
the
my
last couple of
ass.
years I've traveled to World Masters, and there's been over 10,000 competitors
Listen,
in the
man, the gi,
gi at one tournament, and you're like the gi is not dead. The gi is alive and kicking for sure.
the gi is harder.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
harder.
yeah, for
Don't tell
sure.
me
Agree.
it's a harder game. You cannot get
Yeah,
away
agree.
with athletic. You can be athleticism, speed, like slipperiness. All that shit matters a lot. Your youth
Yeah,
matters a lot in no gi.
yeah,
Put some grip on there. Let me talk to you now, kid. Let's see how much you know. Can you kind of
yeah,
explode away because I'm holding your ass?
yeah.
Everything matters now. Don't tell those skills. Not what the grips maybe don't transfer, but the rest of the
Mm,
skills do. Especially the escaping, the efficiency of the movement. This is why the best practitioners on the earth wear the gi.
yeah,
Bar none. Only
Yeah.
God Orion. He's the only one. You can put an asterisk next to his
yeah,
name. But even he wore the gi
yeah,
till purple belt. He wore it till
yeah,
purple belt, and he would, and that's like more than 10 years of training the way he was training with the gi. So
yeah.
he built a lot of efficiency in his movement.
Yeah. For
No, I
sure.
have not seen, like, God bless him, and I love Eddie Bravo. I haven't seen anyone come out of that, and he's been running a strictly no gi camp for 20 years that
Mm,
can beat the gi guys.
mm,
Why? When they take the jackets off, why? Because the gi teaches you things that no gi will never teach you. You know. And the guys that train, I train in the gi, and we train no gi 3 times a week. In the summer, it's like 4 or 5 times a week. In the winter, you're in Melbourne too. It's freezing here. We wear the gi, man. It's freezing here. We wear the gi. So,
Yeah.
and the gi, I love training in the gi. I'll never stop training gi, and I love no gi too. I love training jiu-jitsu. I think jiu-jitsu is fun
yeah,
both ways, but I think the gi teaches you things that you'll never learn without it, and it teaches you efficiency that you'll never learn without it. Like, I'll never doubt it, and I'll never stop using it either. And I've been into a few fights when I've had to use jiu-jitsu, and I've used grips on arms, on sleeves, and it worked just fine. They work
yeah,
just fine on jackets. They work just fine on hoodies. They work just fine. So, you
yeah.
know, I think there's a huge benefit in training both. I don't think any practitioner, especially if you're a hobbyist, train both. I don't know. If you're
Mm,
trying to become like an ADCC guy, all right, go do what, train no gi. You should,
Mm.
if that's your goal. But the guy that comes in that doesn't know anything about jiu-jitsu and he's telling me I shouldn't wear the gi, you need to shut up and do what I'm telling you
yeah,
and put the
yeah.
gi on. Yeah, because there's
Agree.
strangles everywhere, buddy. There's sweeps and grips, and people wear pants. Unless you're fighting naked people, they're gonna have clothes on. It might work, and it'd be a shame to do jiu-jitsu for 10 years and not know how to use a gi.
Yeah.
Not know how to use the grips. It'd be
I
terrible. Yeah,
think that's probably a pretty good place to wind it up, Phil. Thank
yeah.
you
Sorry if
so
I
much
waffle a
once
bit.
again.
You ask me
No,
one
Oh, we
no,
question, I
love
go
it.
for ten
that's what we're
minutes.
here for. Not waffling, not at all.
Where are you guys train? You train out of Dominance, obviously, with
Yeah,
Kieran.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're not far from you actually. It's surprising that we've never met, you and I. Like we live probably in,
Where do you
almost
live? You live in Viewbank as well. I live in Yalambee actually now. I just moved from Viewbank to
yeah, no,
Yalambee.
I'm in Bandura. So yeah, we're
Ah,
not
you're
far
right in
from
my
each other
school.
at
You
all.
guys are more than welcome. Brent, Kim, you're more than welcome. You
Yeah,
have an open invitation to pop in. I'm
Thank
here
you.
every night except Wednesday night, and I'm here every
Thank
other
you.
session. No, you're
awesome.
more
Love
than
it.
Thank you.
welcome. It's a pleasure meeting
Thank
you
you
both.
so much. Do you have
Yeah.
any final words for our listeners? Any parting thoughts? You've
No,
already
for your
shared a lot.
listeners, this is a great podcast. So jump on and listen to it. Listen to the other episodes too. And yeah, if you're training jiu-jitsu, you're listening to this, you're probably already training jiu-jitsu. Don't stop. Try to listen to what I'm saying. I'm not talking from no point of experience. I've got a little bit of experience, and I listen to the masters that have said the same thing. Come to practice, not to fight, and you're gonna love jiu-jitsu, and it'll serve you in your life. That's it.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it, Phil. I think there's one little saying that I heard, and it's relax harder. And I think
Yep.
that's kind of what you're saying, mate. Like relax when you're training, relax harder. So
Just
I love
practice. Exactly right. I love it too.
it. Mate, thank you so much for coming on, Phil. Kim, beautiful research as you always do. We'll leave it there.
Thanks, Dave.
Remember, guys, please, as Phil just said, like, rate, and share the podcast around. Tell your friends all about it. We've got t-shirts, so make sure you jump on and get that merchandise of the t-shirts.
That's
Buy
it.
your coach
Support
one.
these guys.
That'll guarantee you a stripe if you buy your coach one. I'm sure. This will This one will be, I think it'll be a ripper, Phil. You've given some really good knowledge, mate. We appreciate it. You're a passionate man, which is beautiful. It's what we like. So thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah.
Kim, as I say, wonderful as always. And Leverage, get along, guys. Go and support Phil and the team. And we'll see everybody out there on the mats. Train smart. Enjoy. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.